We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube, and always rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcasts. What's going on? We got some semi-breaking news. It happened last night, but we're talking about it this morning. We are going to be talking about the Ryan Bates trade, and we're going to break down what his contract looks like, what they're getting with Ryan Bates, and everything that you need to know about the new Chicago Bear. But we got to talk a little bit about news today because we are going to be on tag watch for Jaylon Johnson. He should be tagged just out of Tony Pauline just reported this, that Brian Burns got tagged and he expects Jaylon Johnson to be tagged. So we're on tag watch until 3 p.m., but it does seem like Jaylon Johnson is going to get tagged. Probably when someone's watching this, you'll see that Jaylon has been tagged. I fully expect them to do that and then continue the contract negotiations with Jaylon Johnson, and hopefully they can get something done. But it's a win for the Bears because if he is looking to get paid above the $21 million mark, the tag is $19 million. So to me, pretty darn good deal if you're able to get him on that, and then you can just extend him with an actual deal. So let's talk about the main news, though, today. The Bears end up trading a 5th-round draft pick for Ryan Bates, the guard, center, the interior offensive lineman from the Buffalo Bills. And if that name sounds very familiar, it's because Ryan Bates was someone that the Bears did offer a contract to, I believe, last offseason. And ultimately, the Bills ended up signing him and saying, you know what, this is the guy that we want because he was a restricted free agent. So ultimately, the Bears ended up not signing Bates, but you could pretty much tell, why does Ryan Poles like this guy so much? Ryan Poles loves this guy for some reason, which we'll break down a little bit later. But Ryan Bates was the guy he wanted and trades a draft pick and ends up getting him. Now, we talked about this last episode. Maybe they would have been looking at like a Mitch Morse if they wanted a veteran center, but ultimately Ryan Bates is the person that they end up getting. And for those that are watching, you can kind of see some of his PFF grades. Now, yet again, PFF grades, not the end-all be-all, but especially for offensive linemen, this can help us at least understand a little bit about him. Now, he had one season as an actual starter at the right guard position where he graded at 61.8. So not great, just kind of in that middling range. Also, a good thing to remember is that in PFF grades, 60s are more average. Like a 60s kind of that average range. So he's very, very okay, very average. So I'm not over the moon with this. And let me know down below in the comments, how are you feeling with this? To me, he's not amazing, but I'm curious what Ryan Poles does see in him. And one of those things that he might see is just his athletic scores. We know we've seen so many RAS scores out there. Ryan Poles loves it. And you look at how he graded with the Math Bomb scores. His RAS score was a 9.56. He had an elite speed grade, an elite agility grade, and good size, okay explosion. But he's a very good athlete. And I don't have any tape on him right now, but I've watched the tape. I remember I watched every single snap of this guy. And he is an incredible athlete and very quick, very nimble. So if they want someone in this zone system, I think that he's a very good fit in there. But I'm getting a lot of Lucas Patrick vibes. I think he's better than Lucas Patrick. I just want that to be known. But Ryan Bates, he is a backup offensive lineman for the Bills and kind of this utility man. But if we look at his versatility, you can kind of see with the snaps, and I tweeted this out, that if you look at every snap that he's taken, so preseason and postseason included, he's taken 139 snaps at left tackle, 334 at left guard, 461 at center, 992 at right guard, and 33 at right tackle. So he has played all over the board. And when this happened, a lot of people thought, well, Nate Davis is gone, right? Nate Davis is a surefire thing. He's gone now. But I don't think it's that simple. I think that they want him as a backup offensive lineman, someone that they might want to put at center. Keep in mind, in the in the preseason, he was a center. If you look at the snap numbers, and I don't have the exact snap numbers for him at center, if you look at that, he was playing center heavily in the preseason. So my take is maybe they like him at center. Maybe they want him as that center, as that veteran presence in the center room, like we were talking about if they wanted to go with Mitch Morse. So to me, I'm penciling him in as the starter at the center position. And when you look at him too, his contract is very nice because if they do, remember we talked about this yesterday. I was thinking like if you could get a veteran on a 2-year deal, ideally, and then draft a center, and that drafted center could maybe battle that person for the starting job, I think that's the most ideal. Ryan Bates, veteran player. Now, the only downside is he's played everywhere. That's a benefit and also a negative because you want him to be the center and ideally that's what you want to go with. But we could also see a Nate Davis being cut. But if he does get cut, it would be a post-June 1st designation. And I believe off the top of my head, it was like a $2 million in savings. So they're not really saving a lot if they got rid of Nate Davis. Like it's still a huge penalty for the Bears to be adding him. But Ryan Bates, though, I like his contract. It's $4 million a year. They can get out of it whenever they want to. And $4 million, if he is going to be your starting center, awesome. That is then to me, I like that a little bit more. But the whole trading the 5th rounder, that's just it makes me a little nervous because when you look at the draft picks, you have 2 in the first, 1 third, and then 2 fourths. So to me, we'll talk about this when I do my mock off season. I think that Ryan Poles needs to trade back. I think that he will probably try and trade back from that 9th pick. And we already know what he does with the later selection. So that does give me a lot more confidence that he's going to start moving back. But I think a lot of these mock drafts that we'll have to do, we'll have to try and incorporate some trade backs because I think ultimately that's what Ryan Poles is seeing. Hey, I can get this guy for $4 million a year, right? Which is a good deal if he is in fact going to be your starting center. As a backup, I'm not necessarily in love with that. So what do I think the Bears are going to do next? Well, I think that this is going to be, I can't see them going after a Lloyd Cushenberry or one of these centers unless they ended up releasing Nate Davis over the next week. So that is definitely something we need to keep an eye out for. I don't think that that's going to happen and I've said this before on the show, because of what Nate Davis has gone through with losing his mother and also just basically not being in shape for the NFL season. That's why I think they're still probably going to try to give Nate Davis another shot. If they don't, we'll know in the next couple days. Otherwise, to me, I like the idea of drafting a center in the later rounds and have them develop. And if that center can take the reins, awesome. If they can't, then Ryan Bates would probably be your best option. So how would I grade this? I'm kind of at that C range where I'm kind of like, okay, I don't see the benefit with Ryan Bates. He's a super good athlete. He's got longer arms. But Poles, you're the offensive line talent evaluator. Please don't let this be a Nate Davis and a Lucas Patrick type of a deal. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. But we have a new interior offensive lineman, and we'll keep you up to date with what is going on with Jaylon Johnson, and mock off season will be coming out soon. So make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube and rate the show 5 stars everywhere you get your podcast. With that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair and you know that she's a